Hello knitters, welcome to the Cozy Sky Knits podcast. This is my YouTube channel where I show all things knitting related, fiber related, and all the crafts that I get up to. My name is Elizabeth and I'm coming to you today from Georgetown, Texas. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. I so appreciate you being here and taking some time to sit and chat with me. Today is episode 18. It is going to be a special episode as I plan to do a review of everything that I knit in 2025. My plan is to shoot some B-roll and I'll do some voiceovers to kind of talk about the knits as I'm showing the video. So hopefully that works out for you and you enjoy it. And I hope that you will grab a beverage and a project to work on and sit down and chat with me. Enjoy the episode. My first garment of 2025 was the Christmas Cactus by Pia Trans. I knit a size 3 using US 4 and US 6 needles. The gauge on the sweater is 20 stitches and 28 rows per 4 inches. I used a Homespun House Soft Sock 2023 Advent along with West 7th Wool Non-Superwash DK in the colorway Sheepy. This is a top-down construction. The neckline is made using an I-cord detail and I knit this flat. You can also knit this in the round and steek if you prefer that method. The next garment I made is the Kreuzberg vest by Rebecca Mauser. I knit a size 2 using US 5 and US 7 needles. This is a worsted gauge. The yarns I used are Pearl Soho knitting yarn, DK, which came on a cone in the colorway Wild Guava, and Artistic Lily Snuggle Missouri in Hot Lips. This is a top-down construction. Next up is the Wilfreda by Venka Rolled. I knit a size medium using US 6 and US 9 needles. The gauge is 16 stitches and 24 rows per 4 inches. I knit this using Araucania Yarns Hausco in the color Dream Stream and Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in Lavender Blue. This is a top-down round yoke construction with nice details including beautiful lace at the yoke and a shaped lower hem for the back to lower it slightly. I did knit this in short sleeves to account for the hot weather here in Texas. This tee is the Flower Child by Wool and Pine. I knit a size 36 using US 3 and US 4 needles. The gauge is 26 stitches and 32 rows per 4 inches. The yarn I used is Suburban Stitcher Sock in the colorway Jane. This is a top-down lace yoke sweater. It has a really dainty and vintage-looking picot folded down collar. The 1x1 rib edge is bound off using a sewn bind off. This was a very enjoyable knit. This is my ranunculus. It's actually my fourth. This is by Midori Hirose. I made the size 2 wide neck using US 7 and US 9 needles. The gauge on it is 14 stitches and 20 rows per 4 inches. I used Queensland Collection Brighton Beach yarn. It is a top-down round yoke with optional short rows for both the front and the back. The mod I made on this is twisted rib at the bottom, and then I used an I-cord edge on a 3/4 length sleeve. In August, I knit the Tolsta Tee 4-ply by Rebecca Clow. I knit a size 3 using US 2 and US 4 needles. The gauge on it is 24 stitches and 32 rows per 4 inches. The yarn I used is Suburban Stitcher Summer Sock in the colors Cadet and Barbie Girl. This is a raglan construction knit top down. The pattern provides many options for different details as well. Unfortunately, my neck has stretched out slightly, so I'm going to go in and do a reinforced crochet edge to try to firm it up. In September, I finished the Keep It Warm sweater by Yeon Hwa Lee. I knit a size small with the US 6 and US 7 needles. The gauge is 20 stitches and 27 rows per 4 inches. The yarns I used are Miss Babs Katadin in Sugar and Pearl Soho Tussock in Pink Fog. This is a top-down raglan with a double folded collar and lace panels that run down the center front of the sweater and also down the sleeves. I will say that this has a very complex short row section due to the lace patterns. I did make one modification in that I did not do the sleeve decreases. I did a rapid decrease right before the ribbed cuff. In October, I finished the Alpenglow by Andrea Mowry. I knit a size 3 using US 2 and US 4 needles. The gauge is 23 stitches and 38 rows per 4 inches. The yarns I used are Red Stake Fiber, Highland Sport in the colorways Aberdeenshire and Antique Linen, along with Moondrake, Fuafua in Slate, and Spin Cycle dyed in the wool and Stay Ready. This is a top-down stranded colorwork yoke, and then there's mosaic knitting with corrugated ribbing at the end. I opted not to do the fold-over collar due to the Texas heat. My final garment for the year is jacket number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I knit a size small using US 7 and US 9 needles. The gauge on this sweater is 15 stitches and 23 rows per 4 inches. The yarns I used are Kelborn Woolens Germantown, color 15 Emerald, and Pearl Soho Tussock, which is a silk mohair in the colorway Lucky Green. This is a top-down construction with drop sleeves. It's somewhat boxy and it has a lovely textured pattern utilizing garter and stockinette. It also has a double knit button band which finishes the cardigan off nicely. I would knit this again. I really enjoyed making it. I also made a few shawls and wraps this year. The first one is a unicorn cloud wrap by the Mermaid's Pearl. I used US 5 or 3.75 millimeter needles. I knit the size small. There are 2 sizes available. The gauge on it is 4.75 stitches per inch. I used Emma's yarn in Marvelous Mohair and Mo Slub, 1 strand of each for the 2 different sections. The colorway is Golden Hour for both. The shawl is knit on the bias with garter and stockinette sections. I would recommend wooden needles for this, as the single string of mohair can get quite slippery, and I was having trouble when I started with my metal needles. Next, I finished the ever popular Sophie shawl by Petite Knit. I knit somewhere between a size medium and large. I weighed my yarn as I went, and when I hit 45% use on the increases, I started to decrease. I used a US size 8 or 5.0 millimeter needle, and the gauge I got was 17 stitches and 30 rows per 4 inches. The yarn that I used is Lanes du Nord Poema Stripes. The shawl is knit from tip to tip in garter and is quite simple. Even though this is a pretty simple knit, it was quite enjoyable, and I really do love the shape of the shawl, and I do get a lot of wear out of it. I also made the wide rib wrap by Pearl Soho. I used US 6 or 4.0 millimeter needles. The gauge on it is 24 stitches and 31 rows per 4 inches. I made the size small. It comes in 2 different sizes. The yarn that I used was Pearl Soho Good Wool in the colorway Barn Door, held with Pearl Soho Tussock in the colorway Pink Joy. This yarn combination created a really beautiful marled effect, and I absolutely love it. This small shawl is called Traveling Solo by Hohi Locatelli. It's a single skein shawl. I used US 6 or 4.0 millimeter needles. The gauge on it is 16 stitches and 48 rows per 4 inches. The yarn I used is called Sparklish in the colorway Rose Petals, and it was really deep stash for me. It's a crescent-shaped shawl worked flat from top down with increases at the beginning and end of the right side rows. It's a really cute little neck piece. Also by Hohi Locatelli is the one skein shawl called One Love. I knit this using US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needles. The gauge is 16 stitches and 36 rows per 4 inches. The yarn I use is Micmar Yarns Gradient Explosion in the colorway Ugly Duckling, which was an oopsie skein. This was actually a mystery cowl that Hohi put on. It is a crescent-shaped shawl with alternating garter stitch and feather and fan lace sections. It was very enjoyable to knit, easy to keep up with, and I would highly recommend it. Moving on to hats and cowls. The first hat I made is the Harlow Flip by Andrea Mowry. I made a size 3 using US 5 or 3.75 millimeter needles. The gauge on the hat is 20 stitches and 28 rows per 4 inches. The yarns I used are Junction Fiber Mill Making Tracks in the colorway Summer Shade and Savage Heart Farm DK in the colorway Morning Gray. The Harlow Flip is completely reversible because of the syncopated brioche. This was part of the DRK May Cal Challenge, and it was a lot of fun to knit, and I did complete it in time. The next thing I knit is just a simple 1x1 ribbed hat. I cast on 68 stitches with a US 10 or 6.0 millimeter needles. I had an extra skein of some hand-dyed chunky from Yarn Bee in the colorway Flower Frenzy, and so I decided to just knit a simple hat with it. Next are a few gifted items. The first is what I call the final cowl, knit on a US 10 using bulky yarn from Nako Artists in the colorway Green. Then I knit the Summer in Berkeley by Linda Cohen. This is knit in Lang Yarns Setasol in the colorway Blue using US 10 or 6.0 millimeter needles. I knit a 2x2 ribbed hat as a gift for my nephew. I cast on 72 stitches on a US 10 or 6.0 millimeter needle. I combined several yarns. The first is Kelborn Woolen Scout in Juniper Heather. The second is Meadowcroft Dyeworks Rock Shelter Sock in Some Dark Holler. And then the final yarn is Dream in Color Classy, which was a one-of-a-kind skein in a green colorway. This made for a very warm hat for him as he lives in northern Michigan. I also made a pink gradient cowl using Miss Bab's Yummy 2-ply toes in pink gradient on a US 5 or 3.75 millimeter needle. This was a project that had been started by one of my dear friends who's since passed, and I finished it for her and sent it to her daughter. I knit quite a few pair of socks in 2025. The first is the Midsummer Socks by Kaja Fredrickson. I knit a size 1 on US 2 or 2.75 millimeter needles. The gauge on these socks is 35 stitches and 36 rows per 4 inches. The yarns that I used are Panorama Fiber Arts in the base Hitchhiker Sock in the colorway Dune, and then I just utilized some scraps and minis that I had sitting in my stash for the color work. These socks are knit toe up with a Flegel heel, and the color work on the foot was a little bit tedious. There are a couple spots where you have to use 3 colors at one time, but I do think the socks are actually pretty cute. Next is the Rapunzel Socks by Amanita Makovitz from the 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2. I knit a size 1 on a US 1 or 2.25 millimeter needle. The gauge is 36 stitches and 52 rows per 4 inches. The yarn I used is Beachy Breeze Fibers Boardwalk Sock in the colorway Lilac Blossoms. The socks are knit cuff down with a folded over picot edge cuff and then a Latvian braid or lateral braid. The leg is textured, and then there is a lace panel that runs along the back. There's also a long braid running vertically up the sock. The heel is done with an eye of partridge heel. The detail on the bottom of the foot is beautiful, and this sock has a really good fit for my foot. After that complex sock, I decided I needed to knit a simple 3x1 ribbed sock. I did this using US 2 or 2.75 millimeter needles. The yarn I used is the Fiber Co. Amble base in the colorway Cross Paths. I did 64 stitches for this sock, and I knit them cuff down with a heel flap and gusset, and then I used a little bit of a pink accent short row right before the toe. The next socks I made were the Hibernal Socks by Summer Lee. I used 64 stitches on a US 1 or 2.25 millimeter needle. The gauge on them was 38 stitches and 28 rows per 4 inches. The yarn I used is by the Fiber Co. in the base amble again, but this time in the colorway Daffodil. I will note that the socks have a mock cable and ribbing, and they are done cuff down. These were very enjoyable, and I just flew through them. My mom liked my 3x1 ribbed socks so much that I decided to make a pair for her. So I cast on 64 stitches on a US 1 or 2.25 millimeter needle. I used, again, the Fiber Co. Amble base in the color Saddlebrook Slate. I knit these cuff down with a heel flap and gusset. I was happy to make it through my Berries and Bird Tracks by Yuka from the 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2. I knit a size 2 on a US 1 or 2.25 millimeter needle. The gauge on these is 32 stitches and 46 rows per 4 inches. The yarn I used was Farmer's Daughter Fibers in the Bear Paw sock base in the colorway Mad Mardigan. This is a really lovely base for socks. The socks are knit toe up with a gusset, heel turn, and heel flap. There is also a 1x1 twisted rib cuff. The lace is charted on these socks, and the overall sock is beautiful. Then I made just a simple 4x4 ribbed boot cuff on a US size 1 2.25 millimeter needle. I cast on 72 stitches. The yarn I used was Rosa Pomar Mondine in the colorway 203. I did use a twisted German cast on and then an Italian sewn bind off to allow for maximum stretch. Next are my Surf Wax socks by Summer Lee. I knit a size 2 on a US 1 or 2.25 millimeter needle. The gauge is 36 stitches over 4 inches in the chevron pattern. The yarn I used is Adelaide Cottage Yarn Toasty Sock Base in the color Mint Rain. And then I just use a scrap of teal as an accent on the cuff and at the toe. These are knit cuff down with a chevron pattern, and I again used a short row accent at the toe. This was a very fun knit. I made these socks using my Erlbacher Speedster circular sock machine with the 60 stitch cylinder. The yarn I used is Lang Yarns Jawal in the Magic Degradé colorway. I knit the cuff utilizing just some leftovers that I had in my stash, and I made a folded over picot edge, or what we call in the CSM world a hung hem, with the picot edge at the turn. Next, I knit a pair of Thursday Night Socks by Lindsay Shank Kirshner. I made the size 64 stitch on a US 1 or 2.25 millimeter needle. The yarn I used is So Happy Jane Bouncy Fingering in the colorway Pistachio Cream. These socks are knit with a gauge of 8 stitches per inch. They are made cuff down, and the ribbed pattern is very easily memorized. Has a heel flap and gusset, and then a short row toe accent. I enjoy making this pattern, and I have now knit a couple pair of the Thursday Night Socks and highly recommend the pattern. Next, I made a 2x2 ribbed sock with a US 1 or 2.25 millimeter needle, casting on 64 stitches, using a yarn by 3 Irish Girls Adorn Love in the colorway My Cherie Amour. I made a reinforced heel and toe on these socks because there was no nylon in the 3 Irish Girls yarn. So what I did is I held another sock yarn that is hard wearing along with my main color. And I did this for the heel flap and then also for the toe. My final sock for the year is a vanilla sock that I made with 64 stitches on a US 1 2.25 millimeter needle. I used the Freckled Whimsy Serendipity base in the Frosted Winter Garland, which was the 2025 Advent skein, along with Hedgehog Fiber sock in the colorway Iris for the cuffs, heels, and toes. I did these cuff down, I knit 1 stripe a day, and I did a forethought, afterthought heel. And I think these socks turned out quite nice and are a lot of fun, and I will get a lot of wear for them because of all the colors. All right, well, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed showing you all of my makes for 2025. I was actually pretty surprised when I gathered everything together at the amount that I had accomplished last year. So I guess it was a good exercise for me. I will include links in the description below to my Ravelry project pages. I tried to keep pretty good track in Ravelry. And if you have any questions or anything, you can always reach out to me or check out my Ravelry page. And with that, I will bid you farewell. I hope that you have enjoyed this time together and that you got some work done on a project and that you are making it through the winter. I know there's so many flu bugs going around and viruses and stuff, so I hope that everyone is staying healthy as can be. I will catch up with you with a regular episode probably in another 2 weeks. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.